Okay, so welcome to another edition of Featured Business, brought to you by your host, myself, James Moffat, and Visibility Impact, in combination with 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗏, the home of the entrepreneur. And typically we'll have an entrepreneur, 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗏 here that could say a few words, but we'll just have to wait for someone to hopefully join from there. We are typically all 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗏 members, although, as I said before, this is independent, so you can join and participate in this without being a member of 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗏 or any particular social media network. You just join the LinkedIn, the Zoom link. Right, we just got someone else joining, Paul.
Yep, right.
Another Paul, the other Paul.
Yeah,
Always say, right. Hi, Paul.
Hi, Paul.
Right. So, Paul, you're late again.
Sorry.
Right. So just quickly, Paul is from Durban, if I remember rightly, in South Africa. Okay, so we have our 67th guest, right? Alessandra.
Yes, hello.
Hi,
Hello,
and
everyone.
Alessandra, just for the audience, could you just say your full name again?
Alessandra Cicchitano.
Right. All right. Right. I'm going to ask you about that. I mean, it's obviously Italian, I guess.
It is. It is. Yes.
Right. Looking at my notes to check. Right. So, but anyway, we'll come on to that in a minute. So we're just going to kick this off with a song from Emily, who normally sings every week. As I mentioned, Emily can't make it today. So she's given us a song that's recorded on YouTube. So I'm just going to switch over to that, and then you'll hear that, and then we'll come back after that. So I'm going to mute myself so I don't talk over. So just bear with me. I'm just going to share the screen, and you should hopefully see my screen. Yeah, everyone see it? Okay, perfect. Right, here we go. I'll catch you in 3 minutes and 22 seconds.
Tú abriste las heridas que ya daba por curadas con limón, tequila y sal. Una historia repetida solamente en déjà vu que nunca llega a su final. Mejor que quedo sola y me olvido de tus cosas, de tus ojos. Mejor esquivo el polvo, no quiero caer de nuevo en esa foto de locura, de hipocresía total. ¿Quién puede hablar del amor y defenderlo? Que levante la mano, por favor. ¿Quién puede hablar del dolor? Paga la fianza pa' que salga de mi corazón. Si yo me hablar del amor, te lo aseguro, eso no voy a hacer yo. La 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 la. Esta día recurrente quiere jugar con mi mente pa' volverme a engatusar. Una historia repetida solamente en déjà vu que nunca llega a su final. Mejor me quedo sola y me olvido de tus cosas, de tus ojos. Mejor escribo el polvo, no quiero caer de nuevo en esa foto de locura, de hipocresía total. ¿Quién puede hablar del amor y defenderlo? puede hablar del dolor, paga la fianza, para que salga de mi corazón. Si alguien me habla del amor, te lo aseguro, eso no voy a hacer yo. ¿Quién puede hablar del amor y defenderlo? Que levante la mano, por favor. ¿Quién puede hablar del dolor? Paga la fianza, para que salga de mi corazón. Si alguien me habla del amor, te lo aseguro, eso no voy a hacer yo.
Beautiful, very beautiful. All right, congratulations to Emily. I'll send Emily a copy of this afterwards. Right, I just got to stop this before the music plays again. The next one plays. Right. So, yeah, that was Emily. Come on, stop that. Right, okay. So Emily sings her own songs. She sings cover songs, and I'm trying to get rid of this to stop this playing. Right, here we go. Right, I'm back with you now. So that was a beautiful song from Emily. So thank you very much for that. And did you hear it? Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. She also does her own mixing, and the backing vocals were her. So she does multiple recordings to get the backing vocals, and she edits it all and make it look all psychedelic for this one. So very
Yeah, it
good.
was very good. She's very good. I really liked it.
Yeah, she plays the piano, the guitar.
Yeah. Very talented.
Things. Yeah, Bojan also sings, don't you?
You don't want to lose your audience.
He's not going to sing today. Okay, so Alessandra, let's learn a bit about you.
Yes.
So we all know each other pretty well because we're on every week. So you are the newbie, not just the newbie as in a guest, but also the newbie to this.
Okay, indeed, I am.
So, but don't worry, because it'll all be great fun. So before we learn about your business, let's learn a bit more about you. So tell us a little bit about you, like where are you now? And is this the place that you were born? Where were you born? And we'll just kind of start kind of at the beginning.
Okay. So right now I'm in Zurich, Switzerland. That's where I'm based. This is where I've been living for the last about 14 years, I guess. So it's home. No, but I was born in Italy and raised in Italy. So originally I'm Italian. And I grew up in southern Italy in a region called Calabria. So Italy looks like a boot, and Calabria is right at the tip, right in front of Sicily. It's really deep south. And this is where I grew up with good weather, good food, great people. I mean, it was a good experience to grow up there with good and bad. I mean, it's every place has good things and bad things. And then I moved to Zurich because of my PhD. So first I moved to Torino. When I started my PhD, I studied computer engineering. When I graduated, I continued with a PhD in systems and computer engineering. And I did my PhD in Torino, where there is in Piemonte, so northern Italy, where there is a polytechnic. And then for the last 6 months, there was, I don't know if it's still that way, but there was an unwritten rule all PhD students, Italian PhD students, had to spend 6 months abroad. And that's because our English was crap, excuse my French. So we did not speak English at all. And it was like unthinkable that we could defend our PhD without speaking a word of English. So they forced us to leave Italy and go somewhere, and try to learn and also improve my English.
So you didn't,
our English.
Did you speak English before you left Italy?
Zero. Like, the system, as I said, I hope they have improved, but the system in Italy was great for all scientific, like math, physics, chemistry, but it was terrible for foreign languages. So I studied something like 8 years English at school, and I wasn't able to speak a word besides hello and how are you doing? Not even how are you doing? How are you? That's it. One word less. So I first spent 2 months in New York, where I landed and it was terrible. I'm telling you, I had a shock. So I had booked a shuttle between JFK and the apartment I had rented in Manhattan. And so I was able to understand where to go, okay, because of the signs. Then I get to this place where all shuttles just show up, right? And there are like 100. And I have to find the one I booked, and I had no idea. So I go up to a lady working there, and I tell her I booked a shuttle. What should I do? Where do I find it? And the lady very politely answers. Unfortunately, I did not understand a thing of what she said. I was like, okay. So she saw my face and started gesturing. So she pointed a phone. So I understood there was a phone there. I had a number. I was supposed to call that number, and then the guy would come and pick me up. So I call, and of course I don't understand anything of what they're telling me, like on the other side. So I go there again to the lady, and I say, I don't understand. So she comes and makes the call for me, and then she says, stay here, don't move. And that's what I do. And then this big man comes, and picks me up. And it goes like this for at least a month, where I struggle. I don't understand. It's like I made a fool of myself wherever I was going, because people were telling me one thing, I understood another thing. So it's a form of shock, but that really pushes you to survive. That was the whole thing. I needed to survive. So I needed to be able to communicate with people.
So
then I needed to work, right? So I was, yeah.
So when this guy picked you up, he took you to the right place, and you knew where to get off and everything.
He knew. He had an address.
All right.
So he dropped me in front of I had no clue.
Well, you could
but it was the right place. He took me to the right place.
It's quite ironic, because we had our guest last week that spent some time in New York as well. So maybe your paths crossed when you were there and you never knew.
Oh, maybe. Who knows? Yeah, I guess we crossed,
But also, you could have gone to Little Italy, I guess.
I did go to Little Italy, but I also, in the end, I was at Columbia, and it's packed with Italians there, and there were other guys from the Politecnico that were already there. So in the end, I met Italians, but it wasn't about that for me. So the shock, the initial shock was so bad. I felt so lost. That at that point for me was really a matter of survival, to really understand what people were telling me in the streets. So
after 8 years of study,
it's zero. Plus, like in New York, many of them speak a slang. They speak very fast.
Well, the New York accent is quite tough anyway.
It is. So imagine me like not really understanding much already, and then having to deal with the slang and the accent. It was really a shock. It was good.
So how long were you there for?
I was 2 months, and then from there I moved straight to Zurich.
All right.
And It was
Wow.
good because, as I said, like it really pushed me.
But then when you got to Zurich, then
Then started all over again.
because I mean, you're not going
German.
to an English-speaking country. You're going to
Yes,
Swiss
well,
German.
I was still trying to survive, honestly, because working, it's not just going to a supermarket, you know, where somehow you can manage, but working in English was really leaving me dead at the end of the day. I was like consumed.
So you came to Switzerland to learn
And
improve your English.
I continue. Yes, that's the thing. So there is a research lab here, an IBM research lab.
All right.
And this is where I was sent after New York. And, you know, 2 months of full immersion for me anyway were not enough, especially when you are working, you know, I was working on algorithms for the internet back then, you know, so really deep technical. So it wasn't just, again, like talking, you know, having a chit chat. It was really able to hold presentations in English, meetings. The first months were really tough. And then I started all over with German. So while, you know, I feel like, okay, I'm good with English, you know, now I can really properly express myself in English. That hasn't happened in German.
But
So
just,
after 14 years, I still don't feel like I can properly express myself in German.
All right. So just go back a bit. When you were in Italy doing your studies and everything, did you have to, I mean, the studies were all in Italian? Or,
Mm-hmm.
yeah?
Yes. All the university was in Italian. I mean, we're talking of, again, like, you know, 18 years for engineering school, 20 years more when I started, right? There wasn't such an international thinking, you know. It was really tough. Engineering school was really tough on scientific things. Like, again, like we had like back then 7 or 8 math exams. Each of them was written first. So you had to go through the written exam before you had to stand in front of your professor and he would drill you down. I remember my first class of chemistry where the professor entered. We were over 100 students in the class. And the professor said only one of the 4 of you is going to make it to the 3rd year. So this means that most of the people, you will not meet most of the people around you in your 3rd year. And that was, you know, that was how tough they were, how strict they were on the things that they considered the core for engineering school.
Yeah. So just going back a bit from there, this was, I mean, you've been a technically minded person. I mean, you wanted to go into kind of a technical education.
Yes, I did. I chose that, yes.
And I mean, we're going to come to that in a minute, but I mean,
yes,
you have a passion for technology.
I do. But not only that, right? Because that, you know.
So as a child then,
yeah.
I mean, you just tell us a bit about that. I mean, growing up, were you into kind of Barbie dolls and things, or was it more like Lego constructions or something?
I grew up in a very modest family, to be like completely, fully honest. And I did not play with, you know, what everybody else plays with. I didn't have Lego and I didn't have dolls. I didn't have a Barbie. I never had a Barbie. I had dolls, okay, but I never had a Barbie. So I kind of had to invent what I was playing with. I kind of had to make my own toys. Well, back then I was a child, so, you know, before I went to school, it felt normal. I felt like, okay, this is how you play. Then, of course, when I went to school, I saw the other kids having a lot more than me. For some time, it didn't feel that normal anymore. But now, honestly, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that. That's how kids should play. You know,
You're an engineer from childhood.
yeah, maybe not for choice, right? I didn't choose that. I clearly, if I could have had tons of toys, I would have gone for the tons of toys like our kids do today, but I didn't have, so I just had to engineer myself. The way my parents were both working, so there wasn't such a thing like they would entertain me or spend, you know, a lot of time with me, so I had to find my way.
Did you have any siblings?
I have a sister.
Okay.
But she's 4 years older than me. So imagine, when I was 4, she was 8.
Mhm.
So we were into different things. When I was 8, she was 12, you know, so the 4 years were always a big gap in terms of playing. We used to play together, but it wasn't like, you know, she would get bored with me or I would get bored with her. So when I was 18 and she was 22, that's the age where the gap just didn't feel much anymore.
Yeah. So Rowanna's just said something in the comments, which I was actually going to say, because I saw an advert that had a kid sitting inside a cardboard box. And they said, well, what's the box? And they said, well, whatever you want it to be. Right. And it's your imagination. So it could be a sports car, it could be an aeroplane, could be whatever. And I mean, as kids, it's about leveraging on your imagination and creativity.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, a lot of the time we made up games in the absence of not having games that you'd create your own. And I mean, I would sit down with my younger brother and we'd make up things that became so much fun. When it came around, they would want to play the game that we had created.
Yes.
But I mean, a box is a great one, because even now with my kids, I give them a box and they, I'm going to say, I'm throwing this box away. Oh, no, I want the box. And I said, what are you going to do with the box? And then make a house from it, do something with it. So kids have really got a great imagination.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, we should support them with that. It's just that things are different today. So I feel like my own daughter has already way too many toys, you know, because it's not only us, it's the rest of the family. So, but yeah, we should support that, you know, their creativity.
Okay, so just kind of jumping forward. So when you said you've got a daughter, so how old's your daughter?
She's 3. She turned 3 a week ago. Yeah.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. Super cute age.
I'm going to ask a question. Is your husband then Swiss or Italian?
No, my husband is Lithuanian.
Oh.
She comes from Northern Europe. So you put in a house, you put together a Northern European and a very Southern European person. Like our daughter is a very good mix.
So what language do you speak at home then?
In Switzerland.
Yeah. So what language do you speak?
She's 3 and she speaks almost 4 languages. She speaks with me Italian fluently. She speaks with my husband Lithuanian fluently. She goes to daycare where she speaks Swiss German. And the thing is that my husband and I speak English together. And she's, you know, she's a sponge. She absorbs everything. So at the beginning, whenever we wanted, you know, to hide something from her, it was easy because we would just speak English. And now she understands. So whenever we want to hide something from her, like, you know, we don't want to say ice cream because, of course, then she will absolutely want ice cream. So we start saying, you know, that sweet thing that is in the freezer, so that we sort of try to hide.
Yeah, the kids are so clever. I mean, we have 3, and my wife is Brazilian, so they speak Brazilian Portuguese, English, and Swiss German as well.
It's amazing, yes.
And they can switch between all 3 without even thinking. I mean, it's just easy. So we started using things. We said, because I love chocolate, you see. So I couldn't say chocolate because I understood what it was. So I said the brown stuff, right? Make sure you get me some of that brown stuff, right? And they know the brown stuff is chocolate. So they're so clever.
They are very, very much amazing. Yeah.
So you're going to have another child then?
No.
No?
I can answer that clearly. not even thinking about it. No.
We have a little like group of parents with 3 kids.
Oh yeah, wow! I'm amazed, guys. You know, like with you having 3 kids, and I thought about it. I have to be honest, but more for her than
I
for
never
me.
thought about this, but it
I know, really. We had her, and then you know, like I was like, when the time came, it was like, so should we? You know, like, but I don't think I can. I'm too old for that. I can't go back to not sleeping the whole night, you know, and start over. Plus, with another small child that still needs you. So yeah, I'm too old for that.
It's not easy.
I'm gonna have to pass on it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, do you have any family here?
No, and not even my husband. So it's just the 3 of us.
Yeah. Likewise with us, it can get tough.
Yeah.
So if you at work now, I mean, do you speak German?
No, English. I decided to work in English.
Right,
I just, you know, I just can't. I mean, I speak German fairly well. I mean, my daughter goes to kindergarten, to daycare here, and they speak with us just in German. But working is just, especially when you are a consultant, you know, like you wanna show that you know what you do, you know, and in German, I just don't sound that way. So I just decided, okay, if I have to do this, I'm going to do it in English.
Okay.
I don't even do it in Italian, because now for me, it's also very hard to technically express myself in Italian.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting combination. I mean, yeah, Italian, living in Switzerland, in a German-speaking Swiss part, speaking English, although that's not uncommon these days, with a Lithuanian husband.
Yeah, it's a very
and doing everything in English.
I dream in English now.
Yeah.
So I was told once you dream in English, and often I dream in English.
Yeah. We had a 𝗓𝗘𝗓𝗏 as a guest as well.
It's so interesting. No, it's one of these things that I'm very passionate about, the brain and psychology as well, right? That's the other part of me. It's not and I've always been crazy about all these things, you know.
I'll send you the recording from last week, because
please,
although she wasn't the guest, she played a part in there because the guest and her had something in common also with New York.
Oh, interesting.
Actually, what year were you in New York?
Oh, wow. I need to think about it. 2000, 2001. I honestly don't remember. I really don't remember.
Okay.
But it was a long time.
2003.
You were 2003. Look, it might have even, so I moved here. Wait, I moved here 2007. Yes, so it was 2007 because I was in New York right before moving here. So it was 2007, 14 years ago. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so let's kind of move forward a little bit to what you're doing now. So you worked with IBM, but that was part of a research program as your postdoctorate.
Yes, I started doing this internship when I was a PhD. Then they asked me to stay for a postdoc, and I stayed. And then I decided to leave research and go develop software. Develop
your own software.
Yeah, so being a software developer, I just found a position as a software developer in a company, and I started working as a software developer. And
any particular software code?
You mean programming language?
Yes.
It was the one I started. Well, I was coding the whole time, right? Even as a researcher, that's what you do. You code basically. And I did my whole PhD in C. And then when I started working as a software developer, I used C++, C Sharp.
C Sharp.
Yes, I started. That was a very interesting time, actually, because this is Sharp C. Okay.
I've heard of C and C++, but I've never
There
heard
is
of
C
C
sharp
sharp.
as well. Yeah, it's the next
Yeah.
step. But I have to be honest with you, among the C's that are out there, for me, C, the plain C, was the most fun, because I mean, there you really need to understand how a computer memory works. Otherwise, you're going to destroy the computer, you know.
Okay.
So you really have to go to the low level. And as an engineer, I knew how to code in assembly, you know, that's the lowest. So I knew what to do, and it's more fun because you have a lot of more control over the machine. You know exactly what, you know, happens when your code runs. But, you know, C++, C sharp, they are supposed to make your life easier because they manage the memory for you. You have classes that you can reuse, so already code written by someone else that has been tested. So it's supposed to make your life easier,
Okay.
yes.
I like when people say low code or no code, then it sounds easy.
It is. It's much easier. Yes,
Getting there.
absolutely.
Right. No code.
Much easier. Yeah.
But anyway, but there must be some code behind the no code.
Yeah, that's real code. Behind the code, there is the whole work, you know, and the whole code.
There's no code for you, but plenty
Behind
for us.
artificial intelligence, there is natural intelligence.
Exactly. So yeah, and then I worked as a developer for some years, and then by chance I started moving sort of up into management.
So tell us what you're doing now, because you're doing several
A
things.
lot of things, and I enjoy all of them.
Right.
That's
So,
fantastic to say, because I think it's the first time in my life that I can say I enjoy what I do.
yeah, excellent. Well, that's the purpose. So tell us, yeah, exactly what you do, because you do a number of different things. What is it that you do?
So when I decided to quit my corporate job, or the job I was doing, I decided to start my own.
So what made you change then? I mean, to get out the corporate world?
I was tired. So I the last years of my career, the last 7-8 years, I was involved with European projects. So I was a manager for working in these EC funded projects. They were amazing. They were a lot of fun. There is a huge community behind it, but I was traveling 80% of the time. So when I was lucky, I was away a week a month. And when I was not lucky, I was away the whole month.
Wow.
And that's not sustainable. So after a while, I mean, it sounds great, and it is great. At the beginning, I was traveling all over Europe, and not only because the European Commission has, let's say, sister projects. So we were liaising a lot with the state, with Asia, with Australia, with New Zealand. And so we had to travel there as well.
Wow.
So it was amazing, the places that I got to see and the people I met. But after 6-7 years, you just don't like it anymore.
I know what you mean. In my kind of younger days, when I was in sales and traveling, I was on a plane every week, if not 2 or 3 times a week, depending on where you're going. Some are day trips and some are one night over somewhere. But 20 years of that takes its toll. And then you get fed up with it.
I was also, my health wasn't that good anymore. I think, you know, my body was really telling me that I had enough of jet lag, you know, and hotel rooms, and also not to be able to take a vacation really where I wanted. I was taking vacation, you know, I don't know, I was in Australia, then I would take, I'm not complaining, right? I mean, I took 10 days off in Australia to enjoy beautiful Australia, but it happened to me. I didn't choose it, no? So I had to go to Australia. So let me take my vacation in Australia. And instead, I like the idea of deciding, where do I go for my vacation? And so also that I didn't like it anymore. And that's why I decided to quit. I was like, okay, I had enough.
So at that time, you were single?
At that time, I had met my husband. So at the time of all the traveling, I was single. Then the last year, I met my husband in Estonia. We were both working in cybersecurity back then. So we met in a conference where I was giving a talk.
Oh.
And when it was the time for me to give the talk, the projector decided not to work anymore. So I had to give the talk in front of a bunch of cybersecurity nerds that are already like not interested, you know, with no slides. And I had to sort of entertain them. And it worked so well that apparently he noticed me, because otherwise, like, you know, they don't even raise their head, you know, to look at who's speaking.
So this was the panic attack you were mentioning?
No, the panic attack was the first time I spoke.
Oh,
so
okay.
I was still a software developer, and I was working for a Swiss company here. And my boss, he was very well known in the network performance field. I was doing network performance back then. He was invited to a panel of experts, but he couldn't go, and he didn't want to say no. So he didn't want to turn down the people. So he asked me to go. It was the first time ever that, you know, I had given other talks, but in different circumstances. So I go to this conference, which is supercomputing. It's a huge conference. It was in Seattle, and it's in the field is the biggest. In the field of supercomputing and network is the biggest. And it's time for me to stand on stage and talk, and the room is full with all these people. I read the papers, you know, of these big names. I was very young, wasn't really an expert in something. I was so afraid, you know, of possible questions. So I stand on stage. The guy says my name, you know, come in. What are you talking about? Whatever. And when it's time for me to talk, I open my mouth and nothing comes out. My voice is gone. My heart is about to explode and my voice is gone. It was like, I think it lasted like maybe 30 seconds, but for me it was like 30 years, it all in my head. And at some point I managed to get out of that by, you know, telling myself, if you don't speak, if you don't find your voice again, all these people that you admire here, they're just gonna remember you as the girl that has no voice. That's it. And somehow I was able to first, you know, some form of sound came out, and then, you know, breathing, I was able to start talking, but it was awful. It was awful.
But did you have then any prior experience of doing any form of public speaking?
Not really. I had defended my PhD then, you know,
Did you have it?
But it's a different setting.
Yeah, I've noticed, because my wife defended hers, and I watched the whole day of defense, and most of them were terrible, because they said, well, we don't have any experience.
No, exactly. Plus in the room, most of the people in the room are people you know, and then there is the commission, you know, the panel that judges you. And I mean, somehow you are also allowed to be terrible, you know, the pressure.
Exactly, which is something that they should teach you, at least some basic tips.
Look, I think public speaking is something that you cannot master unless you practice.
Exactly.
Just for you to talk once or twice, that doesn't make you a speaker.
No. And your first time on stage, you don't know anything. You don't know about body language, breathing, who to look at, how to emphasize certain things, how to pause.
Yes. It taught me a lot, you know, because from that moment on, then I had to repeat the experience many times, you know, countless times. But then every time, you know, I always have this right before going on stage. Now it happens only before going on stage. The first times, you know, I couldn't sleep the night before, for example. But now, like the few seconds before I step up on stage, I have this adrenaline, right? I feel it in my stomach, in the blood, everywhere. And then I tell myself, you know, if you manage to get out of that situation and still do an okay job, then you can handle this.
So
yeah,
you don't have some kind of thing that you do to kind of prep yourself up.
nope. I only have that thought, if I
But
survive
because
that.
also things like that are taught as well on find something is that gets you in, either some deep breathing, either do something. So when you're there and you go to speak for the first time, you know exactly what you're going to say.
These are all very good techniques, actually. I absolutely, I just don't, I learned the hard way.
Yeah, most people do.
Really the hard way. So now I love speaking on stage. I have no problems with that. I can do 5 minutes talk. I can do 60 minutes talk, like just, as I said, I learned really the hard way.
So this is one of your many jobs that you do. So one of them, you're a lecturer.
Yes.
So this is for your company or a business school or for what?
It's a business school. No, it's a university here in Zurich. So it's a business school where I teach information systems and product strategy in the tech vertical. It's one of the main things that happened to me when I stopped my previous work. So I stopped. I decided I wanted to do my own thing. And I have to say that many things happened by chance. And I think it was a good chance. So also teaching.
So this is a kind of a part-time thing?
Yes. I'm a part-time lecturer. Yeah.
Okay.
Right now I teach a day a week.
Oh, one day a week. Okay.
Yeah, but I can adjust it. But right now is 1 day a week and it's perfect. I wouldn't want to teach. I wouldn't want to be a full-time teacher. It's such a hard job.
Okay, so that's one thing. Let's move on to some of the other things you do. So what else you do? So
I have the consulting business, which
your
is
own consulting business.
My own, which I do product strategy in the tech vertical. And so
you have a company name or?
Yes, it's called 𝗬𝗓𝗧.
Right, you can share a link for that as well.
Yes, I can write it right here.
Right, and is there a reason for the name? Does the name mean anything?
Yeah, it does. There is a psychological thing behind it. Besides the fact that comes from my daughter's name. Okay. My daughter's name is Aurora.
Aurora. Okay. Yes. Yeah, that's my brother's daughter is called Aurora.
Yeah. I mean, it's that was like the agreement. Aurora is an Italian word, right? Aurora borealis, but in Italian, basically we use it for dawn. That's Aurora. And I wanted a name. So the first time I wanted to call my business Aurora, but that didn't work very well because there is way too many things that are called Aurora. But I still wanted to use something that related to her name because I can, if my business has her name, I cannot give up. I would never give up on something that carries my daughter's name. And I knew I needed something like that because when I started, I knew it was going to be hard. I couldn't use any of the network I had before because I was changing completely. So I had to start from scratch, everything. And I just didn't want to give up. I just wanted to, push myself even harder by choosing something that would make it even more difficult to give up.
So how did you come into doing that? So you left the corporate world. You were doing some kind of part-time, 1 day a week lecturing. And
I started first with the business. So,
all right.
So I love technology, but I love psychology.
So when did this start, the business?
It started about 3 years ago.
So around 2019 or something.
Exactly.
Okay.
So right after my daughter was born.
All right. Good time to start a business.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect timing. Guys, don't do that. Okay. I mean, you probably know better than me. It was crazy. And it was tough. It was really tough. So at the beginning, I started again, like from scratch, couldn't use any of my previous network. And I knew I wanted to do something in tech. I started doing some websites, some friends of mine, especially when I was pregnant and I still didn't know what I really wanted to do. So I did some websites for some friends of mine, and I thought it was fun. And this is how I started looking into UX, into user experience. And there I realized that there is actually something in common between tech and psychology. I'm very passionate about both, but I always thought that I couldn't bring the two together. So I chose tech for my professional life. And in my spare time, I was just reading all possible books about the brain and about psychology and doing courses and whatever I could. And then with UX, I started looking more into human-computer interaction. I started doing product strategy with a human-centered approach, which I believe is really what makes a difference for products today. So if you have a tech product and you want to place it in the market, you have to do it in a human-centered way, because there is so much tech out there. Every day there are like 100 of tools coming out that either you really listen to your users, you understand them, and you help make a difference in their life, or you simply they will go just to the next. There isn't a thing anymore, like tech is not imposed on us anymore. When I started studying computer engineering, I had a crappy laptop, not even a laptop actually, a PC, and I had to go with that because that's what it was. Now, you name it, we have beautiful, we have faster, we have everything you need is just out there. You just need a bit of time to find it, and that's it. So I started doing the human-centered product strategy, and that is my consulting business. So this is what I do today in the consulting is I help tech companies bring their products to the market and do it with a high impact, which includes human-centered approach, human centricity. While I started doing my business, imagine at the beginning, I had 0 customers and 0 visibility. Nobody knew really what I was doing. I came across the opportunity of teaching. So I thought, well, why not? It's going to be a bit of money that I can earn in a moment where I don't have a lot of money. And so I applied to this school and I got the position. And then I found out I really like it. It's a tough, crazy job. I wouldn't do it 5 days a week.
But this was technical teaching.
This is a cross technical and business. This is the business school. Okay. Where you still do the technical things, but you still keep an eye on the management. The school is called Swiss Business School, SBS. Oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah, I started working with them, and I realized that I enjoy teaching. But as I said, once a week, because it's a super tough job. And yeah, these are the 2 of the things I do.
So tell me about more the psychology and tech psych. The 2 you've blended together now. Yes. Right.
So I at some point, that's the tilt, how tilt was born. I was looking into building a framework to support the work I was doing. And I was doing some research on my own, and I came across human-centered artificial intelligence. It's a field in the artificial intelligence space. And there was this article about how to turn a concept that is using machine learning, which is human in the loop. The author turned it into something called AI in the loop. Mm-hmm. So because if you know a bit about artificial intelligence, so human in the loop is used to improve the machine learning algorithms. Basically, humans give inputs. That's what they do. And the machine improves the learning. So basically, humans are used as a support to the machine. And instead, human-centered AI, the approach is that it should be the opposite. So artificial intelligence should be used as a support to improve humans and quality of life. And then I thought that actually the whole concept should be extended to whole technology. Tech should just be there as a support to us and not the way around. So I then worked, in Tech in the Loop. That's how I called it, or TILT in the short version. And I came up with the framework. And then at some point, I just submitted an abstract to a conference just to see if it was all in my head or there was some concrete there. And the TILT got so much attention, like so many people contacted me. I was invited for a keynote speech to another conference. I gave a presentation. I was nominated for an award. I mean, that was like really something that all came like, okay, where is this coming from? And this is when I decided I need a newsletter. I never thought it was really far away from me. Like, I'm not a writer. I don't even think I'm good at writing. So, but I needed a way to keep track of all the people that were talking to me. So I turned TILT. So TILT is now a framework which will be published soon in a peer-reviewed journal, and is a newsletter. So every 2 weeks I send out a newsletter with some curated content to the people that are interested. And then a few months ago, by chance again, just for you guys to give you a small background, when I started my business, I never planned to work with startups. It wasn't like, I didn't come from the startup world. I had no idea how startup worked, so I was not interested. I wanted to work with SMEs. But it turned out that the ones that need product strategy the most are actually startups, because many of them are technically really, really good, many founders, but they have no idea how to bring their tech to the market and outside. So I started working with them more and more. And I remember I had this conversation with this founder. Probably if you know startup founders, and it's actually all founders are like this. I'm like this too. You have days where you feel like you have everything under control. Everything works perfectly, you got it. And then you have days where you feel terrible. Nothing is working. Nothing goes as you want. So, and I was talking to him, and he was in one of these days where he felt like nothing was working. And whatever I was suggesting, to attract attention to his product, he would go back, oh no, but this one you need money. I don't have money. I'm an early stage. We cannot look at these super successful products. They all have super money to spend. I don't have any. And that's how the archaeology of 0 to 1 was born, because I thought all these successful products at some point were products nobody knew. And they also didn't have money. So they were early stage. What did they do in the beginning to find their channels to become so successful? And I realized, I searched first on the internet, and I realized that nobody was doing that. So I started doing that myself. So now the archaeology of 0 to 1 is a column in TILT, because I didn't know whether this was going to work. So I was like, let me put it as a column. Let's see how people react, and then I'll see what to do with this. And I search on the internet. I really dig on the internet. I use the web archive to find how the product looked like at the beginning, because the internet doesn't forget anything. I'm pretty sure you know that, but it's crazy. Yeah. Which now makes me really careful what I put out there.
Yeah, I think you'll get on very well with Boyan, because he's a technical background.
If we reach, let's say, Q&A stage, are you
ask.
Are you a hacker?
No, I can't call myself.
Because I'm more or less, I learned.
She's not allowed to say
as well, but
I hack all the time, but I'm not allowed to say. No,
I'm also coder, but I don't code now. Paul is coding and is developing products, so maybe it will be a good fit between you and Paul, because he wants
I can look, I leave you, because now what happened at the beginning, the newsletter was part of my website. Mm-hmm. Because at the beginning, there was no need, but it grew so much that it's now actually a product itself. So I detached it from my website, and now it has a website by itself. So if
I
you
was not
feel
able
like
to subscribe from your website. It gave me
you,
an error.
okay, it gave you an error.
Yes.
What error did it give you?
Let's forget about
It's because you have the settings. The other website might give you error as well. But if you give me your email address, I can subscribe.
Yeah,
So
yeah, okay,
unfortunately,
yeah.
I use MailChimp,
That's
which
good.
is yeah, but unfortunately, if you have the protection, like the privacy settings really high on Chrome and Firefox, you'll get an error because Firefox denies it as a third party. So that's what happens. And I can't do anything about it. I can't fix it, which is very annoying. I wish I was a hacker, but I couldn't. So yeah, this is the story behind Tilt, and there you can also subscribe. So yeah, basically now what's happening is that from being a product strategist, I ended up being a product creator. And all these great tools and suggestions that I give to people, now I start having the FOMO, right? FOMO is real. So I know like what I should do, but at the same time, the product creator in me is like, no, if I do this, I will miss that. And maybe I should do this other one. And, you know, like, so it's a constant battle between,
Do you
you know.
have other consultants in your company?
No, I'm alone. And that's a choice. I have to be honest with you. I'm at a stage where my daughter is little, and you know, if I quit my previous job, it was also because I wanted to have the possibility of spending time with my daughter whenever I could. And if I'm alone, I can organize what I want, how I want it, when I want it. So maybe I'll grow in the future, but right now it's a choice to be alone.
Just a question.
Just
a question. You met your husband at kind of a technical event. So is he a techie as well?
Yes, he's the hacker of the house, actually. My
So,
God. Every time I have an idea, you know, I run it by him.
All right. So you don't consider doing business together and doing something jointly?
I try. I try.
Or is that too much business and pleasure? Doesn't work?
I wouldn't mind. He wouldn't mind as well, actually. I have to say that we're lucky because we share a lot. Between the two, he's not only the more technical one, he's also the smarter one. So there is absolutely no competition. Having someone like him in business, it would make a hell of a difference. But the thing is that he works for a startup here in Switzerland. His startup is based in Lausanne, actually, but he's allowed to work from home. Well, with COVID, everybody's working from home anyway. But he really enjoys that. So he doesn't.
And his startup is.
It's in cybersecurity. It's called 𝗪𝗪𝗪, and they do cyber security products.
Okay. So in the essence of time, because we're kind of getting to the hour now. So I just wanted to know if you got any questions to the audience, or the audience got any questions to you, and where are you on your journey that you could do with a bit of help from any of us?
Oh my God, there's so much. And I think, you know, you all know better than me. When you have your own business, like the time is never enough. There are so many things like, so right now I struggle with lack of time and really trying to put together everything.
You're struggling because the lack of clients, or you've got too many things to do?
I have too many things. I have too many things to do. I had to start turning down like more teaching opportunities because I'm at the time where I need to decide what I really want. I'm not at the time where I can take everything.
Jump more on the management side, maybe to hire somebody, and this way you will free time for yourself.
Well, for example, like teaching is not something I could hire somebody else to do it, right?
No,
and
but for business,
for business.
For
I
teaching,
like that.
it's different.
No, but I like that. I like the other part. I like the consulting part. I like the research part. So it may be one thing I would really, right now I am focusing a lot on growing the newsletter. So if
how many subscribers you have?
almost 300. So if you know someone that could benefit from my newsletter, this I would really appreciate, because growing a product is hard. It can be really hard.
Paul can benefit from you, I think. Paul
No,
has a
no.
big product. We don't
So-
hear you, Paul.
You muted,
You're on
Paul.
mute.
Okay, yeah, I have actually subscribed for your.
Thank you.
I also subscribe, so you have
Thank
two
you.
more.
And feedback, guys.
yeah.
The next one is gonna be, I'm gonna break down Reddit. Actually, this is really something that happened a few days ago. Do you know who Paul Graham is?
No, I know only Paul Bishop and Paul Johnny. That's it.
Okay, Paul Graham is the founder of Y Combinator. He's like
Uh-huh.
a huge name in the startup ecosystem. And I couldn't, I was sharing on Twitter, I'm very active on Twitter, that I had reached a block where I couldn't find how Reddit grew beyond the first faked users. They faked their first users. They're very open about it. And actually, Paul Graham, they were in the second cohort, the second batch of Y Combinator Reddit when he started years ago. And actually, Paul Graham himself answered in my tweet to give me a hint of where I could find how he helped them growing. So I was like, it took me like hours to realize that really happened. Twitter is amazing. Internet is amazing. It really puts you in touch with the rest of the world. We are one step away from everyone. That's really, really amazing. So I could use some help to spread the word. If you find it, only if you find it interesting. I don't really like pushing things, but if you find interesting and you feel like giving feedback, I'm always very happy. Any type of feedback, bad, is also very welcome. So do you have any question for me?
See, one thing I'll just observe. See, I subscribed for your newsletter, but I've not got any message. It should be an automatic message, right? Like, yeah,
There
There
should.
is, under the button, there is, thank you for subscribing.
Yeah, but you should also receive a confirmation email.
yeah.
So check in your spam.
Okay.
Yeah, so-
MailChimp should send back the confirmation. Yes, if you're using MailChimp for this.
Yeah, I've set that
That's
it sends you but thank you, something, unfortunately, spam is really a problem with newsletters. But anyway, I'll check if you're subscribed. If something went wrong, I'll let you know.
So the subscription is free?
Yes.
Okay.
No,
And
subscription is paid.
it's a monthly newsletter.
It's a bi-weekly.
Oh,
I
bi-weekly.
send it once every 2 weeks. Yes.
So you're giving yourself lots to do then?
Sorry?
You give yourself a lot of work.
I know.
So
I
you
know.
manage your daughter, and the 1 day a week doing some lecturing.
Which requires 1 day of preparation, right? Because
Right.
I teach both in the morning and in the evening. So it's
Plus the
Tuesday.
newsletter and growing your own
Consulting
business.
And that's where I'm telling you, like, I have some, I also, just to make myself a little bit more busy, I also mentor for accelerators. So I'm mentoring for the founder institutes and for Mass Challenge.
Yeah, I saw that because I'm in the Founder
Yeah.
Institute.
As a mentor yourself as well.
Well, I'm listed as a mentor, but I don't really do too much there.
Yeah.
I've done more with other Swiss organizations than this one.
Yeah, I enjoy it. That's the thing, that all the things I'm doing right now in my life, I enjoy them. And it's really the first time that I can say I enjoy 100% of what I do. I was never able to say it before.
So you think, I mean, in your experience and what you've gone through and the languages and everything else, that moving from the corporate world to doing your own thing was the best thing you've ever done?
Yes.
Even though there's new challenges, like, as you say, particularly when you work with startups, That
Yes.
they might have good ideas and be techie, but they have no idea on business.
Yes, it was. I know, like, I can't say that every moment of my life is perfect. I have days where, as I said before, it feels like everything is a disaster.
Mhm.
Nothing works and I'm
Mhm.
doing it all wrong.
Yeah.
But when I look back, I see myself in a much better place now, which
Yeah.
doesn't mean that I'm never gonna go back. You know how it is with your own business. Like, it goes well and then it might go bad. So I know going back to corporate is always gonna be my plan B, but I will fight against it as long as I can.
Yeah. So I love your story, and it's something that, like all guests, we could talk on for hours. And yeah, I'd be interested in also to see the newsletter. I come from a technical background, but I'm not so techie these days.
It's not a techie one. No. I break the products in terms of growth and distribution.
I'm very interested in the psychology, though.
Yeah, so the things they used also psychologically to help their users to come around and stay, because user churn is the worst that can happen. Yeah. So I look in that direction.
But yeah, I'd also like to talk more about kind of some of the EU projects that you did, because you touched on kind of well-being and stuff like that. So I did work with the AAL, which was the active age living, which was part of a European Commission to help elderly people in nursing homes and places with innovative technology that would aid their well-being and quality of life. Although I found that half of it would inhibit it, because the technology was great, but they didn't take in consideration the capabilities of the elderly and could they actually use it. So the adoption.
Unfortunately, the world of the EC-funded projects is amazing.
Yeah,
but it's a world apart.
It is.
In almost 10 years that I worked deeply in these projects, I have never talked to a user.
Yeah.
So it's that's really I think things are changing. They were already changing last year before I left. They realized that they were just wasting money,
It was. They had to get rid of it every year. And so they well, that's good innovation, that's good technology, let's just give them it. And I think, well, what about the adoption and the use of the technology? And wouldn't it be better that if you took the technology away, maybe they just needed a real person there with them?
Yeah. That, as I said, like the last year, we had a commissioner that was more pushy on this aspect, and also the commission itself. They had started, giving money only to people that had a strong dissemination plan, a strong user interviews, and they also started realizing that, as I said before, it's a community. Wherever you go, you meet the same people. It's always the same people involved in the same projects.
Yeah, I found.
And and if you're not part of the community, it's very difficult to enter.
Yeah, I just found
very difficult.
I was both a technical and commercial assessor, and I just thought that putting those aside, what about practicality? Would someone actually use it? And if the answer is no, I don't care how good the technology is.
Yeah, and last year,
they didn't think that.
The last years, what I found it was really good that the commission did was to, that when you submit a project, then you have a panel of reviewers. I don't know, 4 people that review your project and decide if the idea is good, right? And if the idea is good, the commission is going to give you the money.
Exactly.
The last year before I left, they started removing the names from the project proposals, because what was happening was that, like, oh, well, I know this guy, he's a friend of mine, well, let me give him a good rating, or her, a higher rating, so that she gets the money. And then the money were going always to the same people and to the same projects. So the last year, the commission started really being strict on this. I don't know how it is right now, because anyway, now I'm not part of it anymore. I'm not.
Also, it's different in different countries.
And anyway, it's a topic we could also talk about. I did it for a few years and decided that I didn't like the politics in it. I didn't think
it's a lot of politics.
At the end of the day, it was about providing well-being and quality of life for elderly people. If you could do it without technology, then that was never a proposal.
No, but look,
you
unfortunately,
had to put some technology in. I said, well,
look,
why,
James,
why?
Unfortunately, whenever there is so much money involved, I mean, we talk about billions of money that every year go to different projects. It's impossible that it happens without politics. There is so much lobbying behind the scenes. It's
exactly
crazy.
Because I asked, like, what are the statistics on the previous year, the ones that were selected on the adoption rate of the people that it went for? Well, we don't have those statistics.
Yeah, I mean, that's.
I said, well, how do we know it was actually any good?
No, it works really. As I said, they are changing, but it used to be pretty bad.
Yeah. Anyway, we as I said, we can talk about this for a long time. So I'd like to thank you for being. I forgot to make the comment earlier, but for being a beautiful guest as well.
Thank you. That's very nice of you. Thanks a lot.
And yeah, very interesting, completely different to others that we've had. And the fact that you're mixing things together is very clever. And
thank you.
Yeah.
Please connect with me. Like, there is my LinkedIn. James posted here my LinkedIn. Please, I would really love to connect with you all, because in the end, I'm the one that spoke most of the time, and I would love to hear from the others as well. What they do, and get in touch, and and create true connections.
This is the official me.
Yeah,
this
absolutely.
is
Absolutely. So,
okay.
Yeah, thank you for being our 67th guest.
You're very welcome.
A great
thank
pleasure.
you for having me.
You're more than welcome. And thank you to our audience again for coming on to another episode. And I'm not sure who the mystery guest is next week. I have to find out. But if you know anyone that would like also to be a guest and to learn more about them, then feel free to recommend them and point them my way. And if you haven't been a guest already,
2 hands for this.
Yeah, if you haven't been a guest already, then come forward and then you can be one. So we have still places open, so before the end of the year, so let me know. So on that note, thank you very much, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend.
You too.
I'll post you the link, Alessandra, as soon as I put it into my channel.
Perfect. Thank you very much, guys. See you soon.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.